Hey guys, it's Adam with BB Barbecue and Pits. I've got a 55-gallon drum here. I'm going to show you guys how to turn this thing into an ugly drum smoker. Alright, first things first, we're at the back of the drum here and you see this seam running straight to the bottom. That's where the back of the smoker is going to be. So we'll run our floppy tape measure off of that and measure the whole circumference of the drum so we can get a center point. And this thing was full of corn syrup, so I'm not worried about any contaminants. So now you got your center point of your drum on the front. So then we'll use this to measure off to get the intakes. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then a huge tip is, you see I've got this on an elevated platform so we're not bending over on the ground. So next step here, we're going from the bottom with a regular tape measure. Line it up with that mark. We're going to do 3.5 inches. And that's where our hole is going to be. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Alright, next step, we're just going to hit that with a center punch. First, let's remove this top, so we're not working with this top. And this is what the top looks like. We're going to deal with this later. We're going to clean it up really nice. There you go. Just gives something for the drill bit to grab onto when we're drilling our holes. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. Alright, now we've got our 1.5 inch hole sawed. That's because the intakes that we're rolling with are 1.5 inches. So we're going to guide this thing in right where that center punch is. There you go. Alright. And there's your first hole for your intakes. So we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Alright, we got our flap disc and our angle grinder. Clean up any sharp edges. We're going to do this inside and out. Alright guys, so we got our holes drilled, everything cleaned up. Now it's time to do the fun part. We're going to burn this thing out. We're going to burn the outside paint off and the inside liner. I'm going to show you guys how I like to do that. So now we're going to go grab a charcoal chimney and fill that thing up and get some scrap wood. If you've ever burned these barrels out like I have, it seems to be at the bottom the paint doesn't really burn off as well. So we're going to use our propane torch.
Sweet lady propane.
And just get all that paint off the bottom right before we start that fire. And we still got some corn syrup in here a little bit, so I'm sure that'll smell good. So let's get started. Don't try this at home. Kit from udsparts.com. I will put a link in the description. Thanks to the guys at Island Outdoor LLC. I've been working with them for a while. They sent me this kit to try out and it's looking heavy duty, I can tell you that. When I was taking them out of the packages, even the intake tubes, that fire basket, I mean, it doesn't get any more heavy duty. It's going to hold up, that's for sure. So we got a gasket, a stainless steel grate, the fire basket with the ash pan at the bottom. So we've got 2 side mounts for handles, and then the top, and then we've even got the spring. If you've never used one of these handles before, it's nice because it keeps the heat right off of your hand. So we've got the exhaust pipe that screws right into the top of the 55-gallon. Then we got a utensil holder here you can put on the side, a bottle opener, sweet lava lock temperature gauge, and a bunch of screws and bolts for our grates and everything, and then the sweet intake tubes. I mean, those are pretty awesome just because, I mean, nobody likes to bend down just to fix the air intake. So that's the kit, guys. So like I said, I'll put a link in the description, and let's put this baby together. So while that fire is still going and burning off that paint and that liner on the inside, we'll go ahead and hit some of this with some degreaser, some liquid sandpaper, before we start the painting process. This is what I'm using. This is just going to get any grease off of this metal from the factory or me touching it. And then I'm just going to apply that with some little rags here. Each individual piece I'm just going to hit every surface. It's going to evaporate out. So this is just cleaning the metal, getting it ready for paint. So I'll bring you guys back when I'm all done and these things are ready to go. Alright, so I've made up a makeshift painting line here with the Harbor Freight ratchet strap that tied to my beams under my lean-to. So now we're just going to hit these bad boys with some paint. The paint I'm going with is a Rust-Oleum high heat clear coat, because I'm going for like a hot rod look. So we're going to give this thing a patina, and I want to keep this metal look the same. So I just want to clear coat it so it prevents any rusting. I'll bring you guys back when I've got all these painted up. Alright, got all these painted up with the first coat. So we'll come back in 24 hours, hit another coat on those. Make sure everything's sealed in. Don't want any rust getting in there. So let's check on that barrel. Burned off most of that paint. The rest of it we can kind of sand off. Glimpse down in there without burning the camera. So everything's burned out. That liner looks like it's burned out. We'll check it tomorrow. Day 2, let's get after it. We're already out here this morning sweating our tails off. Let's get to sanding. Alright, so all I'm going to do is take this sanding block here. I think this is about 120 grit. And we're going to wet the outside of the barrel with your hose. And then we're just going to sand the surface. Try to get off any kind of paint, uneven surfaces. You just want to knock them down so that when it's time for paint, everything will be nice and even. So look, you can already kind of see that paint coming off that was left. And I can feel some uneven surfaces here. Any rust. So we're just going to keep at this. I'm going to bring you guys back once I've hit all the outside, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the inside. Alright, so you can tell we've got the paint off now. We've knocked down that surface. Everything's nice and smooth. So we're going to dry it off a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and take that liner out of the inside, and we can drill our holes. Now we have to hit this inside. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a burnt layer in there from where that liner came off. So we got to get that thing out of there. Alright, so I've got some Barkeeper's Friend and a Scotch-Brite pad. So we're just going to rinse this thing out with water and keep rotating it. Hit it with the Barkeeper's Friend and scrub this stuff out. Shout out to Frank Cox on Smoker Builder. If you haven't followed him on YouTube, I saw this on his channel. He got that thing out super easy. So let's hit it. And you can get this at Lowe's. That's where I picked this up. Sprinkle that all on the inside and then just start scrubbing. And that's what's going to help get this thing back down to bare metal in the inside. So you'll see that liner coming off that you don't want on there. You don't want any of that in your food, that's for sure. And you can see it coming right back to bare metal. Alright, so I'm going to keep at this. I'm going to keep scrubbing the inside. We're going to store this inside my shop so it doesn't rust overnight. You don't want to keep it outside with this bare metal. And then I'll bring you guys back tomorrow. We'll be ready to drill some holes in it. Day 3, guys. Let's go ahead and start drilling some holes. Alright, so this is our top. I know we haven't really messed with this. You can tell we're going to knock all that back. But first, we need to get a center point here. So that's the center that way. Now you're going to measure it the other way, and that'll give us our dead center. Alright, so kind of eyeball it. That's a dead center right there. Alright, so we got our grid set up. And listen, it is hot out here. If you live in the South, you know what I'm talking about. I had to go get the comp tent just to finish this build to stop the camera from overheating. So you can tell right here, I've got it set up. This is the top mount. So it's got 4 holes there. I'm going to mark those, try to line it up with this bung hole. This is where the exhaust is going to be. There you go. Alright. So now we're going to take our 1/4 inch drill bit. We're going to drill our holes. Alright, so now everything's dry fitted. We're good to go on that. So now let's start working on the drum itself. So for the thermometer, we want this thing to run right in between the stacks here. You're going to pull from the bottom. We're going to do 24.5 inches. Alright, so made a mistake here. Too low to this ridge. If you've got these ridges on your drum, you might want to make sure that this thing fits. So it's just hitting. You can see it hitting there. That's all good. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to weld that little spot up, and I guess we'll retry that.
What? What an idiot!
But nothing you can do now. I'm gonna fix that later. We'll continue this build though. Let's attach some handles. Alright, so we're on the side of the barrel now. So we've got our side mount brackets here. You're just gonna, I like to use one as kind of a jig there. So put it right there, and then put the other one underneath. So then you got some clearance. Kind of put them wherever you want. I'm gonna put them right in the dead center on the sides. All right, there you go. So that's one handle. And the way you fix that, kind of going at an angle, just come right here and just clean it up. So you're just gonna kind of wallow the hole out there. Move your drill just like that. It cleans up the edges, so then the bolts will fit in there perfect. So now that we got these holes drilled and everything's done for the side, we're going to put on the intake pipes. What I did was hammer an 1.5 inch hole saw bit into the hole so it guides it through. Shout out to Texas Style Barbecue and Cuisine for that tip on his video. If you haven't followed him, follow him. So this is going to go right in here. That's going to ensure that the hole is correct. So I've got this thing shimmed up because I want it to be as plumb as possible. So I've got a level over there, and then I'm gonna put a level on the actual pipe itself to make sure it's straight up and down. So that's how I'm gonna accomplish that. Let's go ahead and mark these holes. I've got my other level here. Make sure we're plumb on the pipe itself, and we are. And these things came out great. This is 2 coats of that clear coat high temp, and it's looking really good. All right, so let's remove that. Let's go ahead and drill our holes. All right, got this one nice and plumb. Everything's looking good so far, besides that hiccup that I'll fix maybe tomorrow. All right, so next step, we're going to drill out one of our grate bolts. So pulling from the bottom, it's going to be 26, and I'm kind of going in between. I'm looking at my top, and you want to split the difference on each quarter, so then you got equal distance with your bolts, and you'll see what I mean in a little bit. Alright guys, so we got both of our holes drilled for our grate. That bottom one is for a diffuser plate, or a second grate if you want a second grate for a water pan and whatnot. So all I did off camera, I did the same exact thing I did for the top holes, except I pulled 16 inches from the bottom. That's all I did. I can't believe it, guys. I almost forgot the bottle opener. I mean, how am I gonna be cracking some cold ones while we're grilling here? Alright, now we got the drum on its side. I've got an angle grinder here with a flat disc. We're just going to go through and hit any of the holes. You just want to get any kind of sharp edges off. Alright, next step, we got the top here. See that gasket? It's a rubber gasket running all the way around. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our heat gun, heat up that adhesive, and pop that thing out with a flathead. There she is. Alright. Should be able to just pull the rest of it out. Nasty. Alright, back at the table, we got this thing clamped down. So we're going to hit it with the flat disc, clean up all this liner, get it back to bare metal. We're going to keep at this thing. We want it to all look like that. For the corners, I might hit it with the wire wheel, so I'll switch it out. Other than that, we're just going to do this front and back, guys. Alright, day 4. Going on day 4 now. As you see, we woke up early this morning and finished this. Top, we've got everything back to bare metal, inside and out. So we use the flat disc, and kind of in these corners and stuff, I use that wire wheel. Alright, we're back under the shelter here. Hit this thing with some liquid sandpaper. We're going to just use that on the top, so you don't need to worry about the inside. The inside is going to be hit with a little bit of PAM when it's time to actually grill. Alright. And this is just going to remove any kind of oils from me touching it, and just get it nice and clean and ready for some paint. Then it'll make the paint stick better. Right, we're going to hit this thing with some high heat ultra Rust-Oleum black paint. So I want the top to be black. All the rest of it's going to be rust or a metal color. So I think that'll look kind of cool. So just keep it moving when you're painting like this. Alright, bada bing, bada boom, first coat done. So we'll hit that with a second coat. The next time y'all see this, will be on the grill. Alright, let's go ahead and make our rusting mixture here. So I'm going to start with a spray bottle. Then we got some fine sea salt. And I just did that just because you want it to be fine so it'll come out of the sprayer here. Add a little bit of that. Some white vinegar. I fill it up about, I'd say, a quarter of the way there. Then fill the rest of it up with some hydrogen peroxide. Alright folks, day 5. Now the fun begins. We get to start putting a nice patina on this thing. Let's check it out. I'll show you how we repaired that hole. Now let's make it look pretty. This is our hole here, repaired. We got a plug weld in there, and then since that thermometer's threaded, we just put a nut in there and bolted it all in, so you can just screw the thermometer right in there. So that's what that looks like. So I've used painter's tape to tape up any of the holes because you don't want any rust getting inside of this barrel. And I've got a box on top with I did some tape around the outside. So I'm going to tape that hole up, and then we are going to spray this thing down with that solution we made the other day. So let's get to it. Man, that thing looks cool. Really cool patina, surface rust. So now all we're gonna do, guys, is let this thing sit in the sun. We're gonna let it sit and bake in the sun all day long. But I'm pretty pleased so far. That thing looks awesome. All right, this is what it's looking like. It's been baking in the sun for about 4 or 5 hours. It's looking really good. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna hit it with the water hose, and we're gonna let it dry. Then it's time for the clear coat. Alright guys, final day. I'm really excited. Let's throw this thing together and start smoking. Alright, let's check this thing out. So, got our lava lock thermometer, and that thing works great. I actually checked it with my thermopin, so I know that thing is dialed in within 5 degrees. So, in the finish, you can see the finish is staying. I've ran it already. I burned it in one time. So we got our intake pipes here. Those look awesome. And I actually bought a drum dolly. That's what that thing is on the bottom. Then we got our side handles here, curved mount handles. Then we got our beer opener there. We got a tool rack, actually, a stainless steel lava lock tool rack where I can hang anything I need. I will say one thing, I'm pretty impressed with that smokestack because it just threads right into that top, the existing hole that was already there for the lid. Paint job came out nice too. I used that high temp paint, high temp black, and then I did one clear. Got a sweet patina to this bad boy. It looks like a hot rod to me. My wife said this thing looks like Dorothy from Twister. I kind of wanted to name it Rust Bucket. So you guys comment down below what you think. Dorothy from Twister or Rust Bucket. Like I said, check out that, I'm putting all the links down below for everything you need to build your own. Oh baby, got us some baby back ribs on there, testing her out. Alright guys, it's finally done and this thing came out awesome. I'd like to send a big thanks out to udsparts.com for sending me this kit. I mean, I couldn't be happier. So if you haven't yet guys, check out their website and get your kit today to make your own smoker. And make sure you subscribe to my channel below. I've got a lot of cool content coming up, especially using the smoker. I'm going to cook a few different things. But thanks for watching, you guys, and see you down the road.